But I want to talk about your thoughts on, obviously Vultures 2 for Ye and Ty Dolla $ign. They are doing the model of selling it directly to fans versus going to streaming platforms, right? Why is that important? And is this something that you feel other artists are going to start doing more?
Yeah, I've heard of other artists who are also kind of planning to do this model for whatever reasons. I think you have to be at a certain level. Like, look, it's like anything. You have to put out a product that people want to buy. I tried to give J-Lo a CD. I did a J-Lo remix.
And how did that go?
Not well. She didn't take it. She was like, yo, I can't take it. I remember my mom was so mad when I told her the story.
Why didn't she just take it?
I don't know.
We love the Barbs, the Swifties. We love them all.
We got the Swifties and the Barbs coming after us.
I love the Barbs. But when a Cardi B song, you don't turn it up just a little bit? Like, you don't feel it just a little bit? Like, Cardi got joints.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's up, then it's stuck.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Yeah, just.
The Barbs go hard.
They go hard.
They go hard.
I know. And I respect it.
Right.
But as a fan of hip hop,
right.
When you hear something like that's just dope, like, can you just deny it? Like, where are my checks? Like, the Source still owes me $8,000.
Stop it.
And at the time, that was a lot of money. Like, I'm like, yo, this is like.
Wait, till now?
Yeah. So what happened was, like, I just don't feel good about preying on somebody when they're at their lowest. It just doesn't make me feel good when I lay in bed at night. You know what I'm saying? So I need to be right with myself before anything.
Okay, so Rob, I could talk to you without like actually having a real conversation right now because we love you. We appreciate you. You are an extremely respected voice in hip hop. When it comes to music, just your outlook, your perspective is remarkable for years. So I don't know if you hear it enough, but we are here to tell you that we love you and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Wow. Damn, just right.
It's true.
Right out the gate with that. I love y'all too. And Nessa, like, I mean, you reached out to me like years ago.
Yes.
And wherever you had space, like you would make space for me. And so I appreciate it. And I love what y'all doing. I have been catching, I had told you that I have been seeing all over my timeline the social cuts of what y'all have been doing. And it just felt good,
We're having fun.
See. Yeah, but fun, but also like responsible and respectful of the light that we're given, right?
That's
like,
right.
And for me, even to hear those words is dope, but I'm just grateful. And then it just makes me want to make sure that when that camera is on me, that I handle it with a certain amount of respect. You know what I mean?
You do.
Absolutely.
You set the tone everywhere for all the years, the work that you have done. I mean, from starting in the mailroom to writing for different outlets like The Source, New York Post, obviously you wanting to do your own thing and be an artist, which we're going to talk about, because that's always been there. Like all the stuff that we're talking about, senior editor of hip hop at MTV, all these things were going on in your life, but at the core, you've always been an artist.
Yeah.
I love this. I think
Thank
that's
you.
so amazing. Maybe because Katrina and I are failed artists and we have never been able to make our dreams come true. You actually did it.
did
You
it.
actually have
You
albums.
did it.
3 albums. Three. Like
That's
the
amazing.
dedication you have to go into a studio, to put it all together, to create 3 different projects. I love it.
Yeah. Fourth one on the way. I'm trying
Let's
to put the
go.
fourth one together right now.
Let's go.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
For many of us, you are, just a very important voice, a writer, your perspective on hip hop music and really the state of the world, right? Like it's a very interesting time, but you've been doing this for years. What would you say was your drive to care about music, reflecting on it, and really documenting your perspective on music and hip hop?
Yeah, it was just everything to me. Maybe it's coming up in New York, born and raised in Brooklyn, and I'm an 80s baby. So like when I leave my house, like hip hop is all around. It's this exciting thing down from, seeing people on the corner with a boombox, seeing people breakdancing at block parties. And I'm young, I'm 5-6 years old, but you're just like, yo, what's going on? What's this energy? Or taking the train with your parents or my older brother and seeing the graffiti on the cars and hoping that you get a good train that pulls into the station that might have a transformer on it or a Smurf or, you know, like something like really cool. And then, you know, for me being in the schoolyard, rapping with my friends, Lottie Dottie, like Slick Rick was my first like favorite rapper. Like Slick Rick was my first GOAT. And it was just all around. And so for as long as I can remember, hip hop was always just life for me.
So what made you want to start writing and really, you know, being a part of it at a different level, right? You could have just focused on being an artist, but you decided to, you know, I don't want to say the executive side because like you're definitely not executive energy, but it's also an interesting take when you could have just focused on your career, especially born and raised in Brooklyn. You are in New York. You're in the mecca of hip hop. You could have just gone down that route.
Yeah. Well, it was just wanting to be involved like any way that I can and wanting to be a part of any and everything. And, you know, I started out writing raps and then I would go to battles and then I go to the studio and you know, start messing with my voice, seeing how my voice sounds. My first studio session ever, fun fact, was with shout out to Plain Pat. I haven't seen Plain Pat in years, but that was my first studio session ever. This is before he's working with Kanye. This is before he's working with Cudi. So he has like my first demo, and every couple of years, we don't speak so often, we just don't cross paths, but he'll be like, I'm just waiting, but I'm gonna leak it. And I'm like, please don't.
Do you remember that rap?
A little bit of it, but it was terrible. like bits and pieces. And but I tried my hand at DJing. The point is, like artists, like I tried to DJ, and I was like really terrible at DJing. I'm like, all right, this doesn't work. I remember buying an MPC with a bunch of my friends and trying to make beats, and I was like, okay, I'm not really the best at this. And the artist thing is what I really loved and writing. But the fact of the matter is, one, making no money. Like I was doing ciphers in front of Fat Beats. I was you know, battling at SOBs, and there used to be a club in New York called Wetlands, and New Eureka's Poor Cafe. It was like all around, but wasn't paying the bills. And so writing came. So I got an opportunity to write from an old friend of mine, Tim Hotep, who was working at Complex and gave me an assignment, and it paid. So I loved it and I wanted to be involved, but the short answer is the money. Yeah. Like the writing, it was like, oh, we're going to pay you for this. Like I was getting paid more to write than I was rapping, so it was just like, duh.
Well, I'll take that. But you went to college for this, right?
Yeah.
Like you have a degree, and I think it's really important to talk about how you just made it all work together, because like you are really talented at writing, and it just paid off in a different way because you know how to write, you know, lyrics and stuff like that. So in a way, I guess you're really lucky.
Yeah.
Think about all the people in the world. I think about this all the time. Like they don't have a chance to do what they love and somehow, some way make a living off of it. And you have been able to do that.
Yeah, thank God. And again, like I have responsibilities. I have 2 kids that they're grown now and a wife, and I'll do 3 shifts at McDonald's if I have to. Like it's the reality, but I do feel extremely blessed to be able to make money and make a living in something that I love. And I tell my kids that all the time, like, you know, my son is in his first year of college, and he's in history and politics and government, and he doesn't quite know what he wants to do. He knows he doesn't want to teach. He's not, and you know, I guess early on somebody told him, hey, there's really no money in that. You should try something else. But my advice to him was, you love it. If you love it, the opportunities will find you.
That's right.
Like if you're just coasting and you don't really love it and you take a major that you don't really love, it's going to be tough. Do something that you love, the money will come. Just make sure that you enjoy it every day.
You know, it's wild to me that you mentioned growing up in the 80s, just being around hip hop. We just celebrated hip hop's 50th anniversary last year, right? Like Nessa and I were talking about this before. Like when we were young, like I don't think people realized, especially in that moment, how young hip hop was. Like you're like, I'm waiting to see if something hops on the train. I'm seeing people with boom boxes. Like to realize in that moment that what we were dealing with was so new, and the fact that it's lasted this long, like just thinking back in that time frame, like I couldn't imagine how anyone would think, how can I monetize this?
Right.
Yeah.
And how can I make this so it lasts forever? So when you went and started writing for, you know, for Complex, did you feel that you were going to have the longevity that you've achieved now? Like, did you know, or were you ready to shift at any moment because of where hip hop could go or might not go?
When I did the first piece for Complex, also I'm a freelancer.
Right.
So I'm still working in the mailroom somewhere, but I'm a freelancer. So nothing was promised. Like tomorrow wasn't promised. Like the next assignment wasn't promised. So I was just taking it day by day. Like, but once I got my foot in the door, it was like, man, well, they're gonna have to bring me out of here on a body bag, you know. and I was actually looking because I moved recently. It's been 20 years since that.
Wow.
I signed that freelance contract with Complex on January 28th, 2004.
I saw you posted it.
Yeah. So
Would you sign that contract now?
yeah,
Yeah?
I mean, if I was in the position that I was then,
No red lines?
yeah, nah, I'm taking it. Like, I didn't have time to negotiate. Look, not that I didn't even have time. It was like an opportunity. They were like, listen, Jadakiss has a new album coming out. We're going to send, Interscope is going to send you a car up to Yonkers. He's going to play you the album. You can listen to it a couple of times, take your notes, come back, write a review. And that alone, just the opportunity to hear, like,
Wow.
why?
I feel that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Like the song, when Kiss first played Why, and knowing that I was one of the first people in the world to hear Why before, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so just the opportunity was like, I'd almost do it for free. I think they were paying 75 cents a word was the rate at the time for me. Oh, and you gonna pay me? My biggest problem at the time was like, yo, because we from New York. I didn't have a car, and then I'm like, yo, how am I gonna get to Yonkers?
Right. And
And it was raining that day, and it was like, no, Interscope's gonna send you a car, okay? But how am I gonna get back home? No, the car's gonna wait for you outside of the studio, and when you're done, it's gonna drive you back home.
Crazy.
Like, what are your questions? So, yeah, no red lines. I dove right in, and I think one of the issues that young people now breaking in are having to contend with, and I'm not saying just sign anything,
Right.
but you want to make sure the business is right. But sometimes you just gotta also know when to just take that opportunity, and I'll figure the rest out later. Right. I went on freelancing. Did a bunch of work for The Source. That, is the hip hop Bible, and shout out to Double XL, but before Double XL was The Source. And I was just writing, and after a while, I'm like, hey, my checks haven't been coming. Like, where are my checks? Like, The Source still owes me $8,000.
Stop it.
And at the time, that was a lot of money. Like, I'm like, yo, this is like...
Wait, till now?
Yeah, so what happened was, this is when Benzino and Dave Mays had The Source, and they were going through whatever they were going through,
Right.
and Londell took it over. I did open up a small claims suit, I think, as a lot of people did, and there was some type of settlement, but I was young. I didn't understand the process. I got intimidated by the process. So I'll say this, I believe there was a path for me to eventually get the money that was owed, or at least part of it, and I just got so overwhelmed with the process, I gave up and was just like, and I went on to the next thing. So yes, they still owe me money, but also after a couple of years, it was a failure on my part. You know what I'm saying? I got to take accountability. It was just like not knowing the law, not knowing the process. I'm like, yo, this is too hard. I'm working every day. I can't show up to court, fill this out.
But that's part of the system, right?
Yeah,
it's very daunting. It's tedious. It's a lot of work, which ultimately, you're just like, okay, I don't want to deal with that. That's a lot to deal with right now.
Even though for $8,000, I should have dealt with it. But to your point, what I'm saying is I was young, and yes, the not getting the money definitely hurt, but that opportunity led to something else. So what I say to young people is, I'm not saying get jerked, get your money, handle your business, but sometimes the opportunity, I'm a hustler, so so I'm going to Double XL. Yo, I'm writing for The Source. They don't know I'm not getting paid, and it's none of their business. I'm not trying to me. I write for The Source. Like,
right.
So, you just parlay it into something else, and you just keep building and building and building.
I want to go back to you writing your first review. So it was for Jadakiss, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this moment. Okay, so you get in the car, you get to the studio. How was Jada to you?
He was cool. He was super cool, man. But then I'm here to review his album. What if he play it?
Yes.
And I don't like it.
That's what I'm so curious.
So you got to do the stone face thing. Like, hey, man, don't show, like, I'm a fan. I'm going to give respect. He showed me love. I'm definitely going to show him love. But I don't want to fan out too hard. Like, because I might have to go back and and write some things. Because I remember too, I didn't, and maybe because I heard it first. So the second album was Kiss of Death.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who isn't a Jada fan? I'm
Right.
a Jada fan. I've never heard a whack Jadakiss verse.
Right.
Like Jada is on point every time.
Right.
Kiss the Game Goodbye, the first album, I remember there being, buying that as a fan. I'm not even.
Right. You're not doing
Yeah.
reviews. You're not. Yeah.
And there were a couple of songs on that album that I didn't like.
Uh-oh.
That I was like, I could do without this song. So just knowing that, hey, when you buy an album, there's like, oh, these are my joints. I'm skipping this one. I'm skipping.
Right.
And so it was like, so I knew like, it's not, no album is perfect, or very rare that albums are perfect. So I might have something critical to say. So I got to kind of be professional at the same time. But he was super cool, and the album was great. I still stand by it. The Kiss of Death album, it's got some joints on there. You know what I mean?
So did you see him later on? And does he remember this?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I don't know if he remembers it. Like, he knows the story though. We've talked about it. I don't know if he remembers it like I remember it, because at the time to me that's Kiss.
Right.
And to him it's like, okay, this is just the guy that's gonna review my thing from Complex, which wasn't even big at the time. Like they might have been 4 or 5 issues in. It wasn't a website yet. So this is the magazine guy that's gonna review my record.
You've seen it all, when it comes to print, the blog era, and like where we're at now as far as digital era. How do you have a favorite era?
I think that blog era.
Blog era was
Awesome.
good.
I think that blog era.
That's kind of like the ushered in the whole digital space. So
Yeah.
if you,
Absolutely.
I remember the blogs I would hit.
Yeah. What was it?
Try to
What
get
was the
new
blogs?
music. I would
Two
go
Dope
to
Boys.
Two Dope Boys.
Two Dope Boys.
Shout out to Mecca and Shake, man. I love Mecca and Shake. Two Dope Boys.
I was checking it all day, every day. Like, is there anything on here? Not right.
Not Right. I would
Not
go
Right.
to Infos.
Shout out to SK.
Yeah.
Man, there's some great blogs.
Yeah, the blog
but you were
era
just
was-
consuming music.
Yeah.
I remember, and I didn't quite understand. So I was working. I had my first full-time job at Scratch Magazine. So I left the mailroom and went to Scratch Magazine, which was owned by Double XL. So it was like the sister magazine to Double XL. That's where they put producers on the cover. So like the first Scratch Magazine was Dr. Dre on the cover. The second one was Kanye. I think Just Blaze definitely got a cover. So producers were getting shine.
What a time highlighting producers.
I love that.
So I was there, and when I got in, they told me, listen, this magazine is on its last leg. It might be on its way out. We're trying to save it. We're going to hire you, but you also might be out of a job very quickly. Again, I rolled the dice. I said, whatever. But so SK, who started Now Right, he was working at XXLMag.com at the time. And me and him had got cool just seeing each other in the office talking. And we were hanging out one time. We were at a listening. I think it was like a game listening. And we're leaving. We're outside. And it was maybe like the next day or something. He came in the office. He was like, yo, my last day is about to be whatever. I'm leaving to just focus on my own blog, like on Now Right. And which was already up and running, but he was like, hey, this is going to be my focus full time. This is how I remember the conversation. SK, if I got it wrong, I'm sorry. This is just according to my memory, right? And I remember me because I'm in the Harris building. He's at Double XL. I'm at Scratch. It's all very new to me. And it's feeling like you remember the intro to Snoop to Doggy Style?
Yes.
He's like, man, you got flat screen TVs, a pound of weed. I'm looking at SK like, you gonna give up all this? Meanwhile, Double XL off as hell. I'm like, you believe in Double XL? You gonna give up all this? He was like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
That's risky at that time.
But he knew, he bet on himself, and
important.
Man, was he right. Like, just what Now Right is, what it stood for. And again, Now Right was up and running. He was doing both, and then he was just gonna go focus on it full time. But that's just perspective. Like, I didn't have the perspective. I'm like, nah, this is it. And he's like, nah, this is it. This ownership, this my thing, this brand that I'm building. And to see that and to see how he progressed and whatever, it was dope to watch and see as just a fan. I'm like, oh, he bet on himself. He was right.
Which artists do you feel like maximized the blog era and they still are reaping the benefits?
I mean, Drake.
I was going to say, tail end of the blog era,
Yeah.
Drake.
Like, I remember when So
Cole.
Far Gone dropped.
Yeah.
Cole,
For sure.
I remember when So Far
Kendrick,
Gone dropped.
you know
Yes.
what I'm saying? Wiz. you know.
Wiz.
I also think, and shout out to Currency.
Yes.
I think because Currency, his role was a little different than the other guys that we mentioned. But, I remember when Currency was putting out a new mixtape every month. First, I remember it started with Crooked Eye was doing a new song a week. I think Mickey Fax was doing a new song a week, right? And that's building up. And then here comes Currency. It's like, nah, I'm going to do a new mixtape every month.
That was
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that. And then him to where he is now, like what I love about seeing Spitta is that he's courtside at the same games as the rappers who are selling multi-platinum. His car collection is whatever it is. He just looks like he's enjoying life. He's doing well for himself. It looked like he just figured it out in a different way. And I remember that time that while we were fans of Currency putting a mixtape out every month, that was his figure it out time. And to see now that he's figured it out, and he's figured it out on his own terms in a different way than his counterparts, is dope to see.
What would you credit has been the driving force for your longevity in the game, 18 years plus at this point? The success that you've had.
I think just the love and the respect for it is to, like, I still love it. It's still very important to me to do things the right way, or at least what I feel like the right way is. My favorite big quote that, and it just resonates even now, like now I'm in my 20th year more than ever, is when Big was like, you treat every day like it's your first day, like back when you was an intern. And that's what it is. I have a team that I manage over where I work at Genius, and we all do different things. But everybody that I manage that's on my team, at one point in my career, I've done their jobs before. And I'm not afraid to, when the chips are down, if somebody on my team needs help, it's like, hey, I could roll up my sleeves and I'm going to go there in the mud and get it with you. And, I have a VP title now, and it's funny, I see other kind of VPs in the company or just don't go down in the mud like they used to. And I'm like, nah, I could still.
So what is it that you do at Genius when you, as a VP? Everything. I know that face. Yeah. That face was telling you.
Like, what don't I do?
You're VP of strategy and content.
Yeah,
that's the title.
Which don't even make no sense. How you got a title and it's like, I don't even know what this means.
Right. It just means you're gonna do everything.
And I've had this discussion like, yo, okay, we need to switch this up. You don't know what it means. I don't know. It sound good, but,
right?
But yeah, basically, I oversee the content team officially and unofficially. So, we have our original series that we run on YouTube, which is verified and open mic. And my man Andres is on the ground doing that every day. So I manage that operation alongside with him. I mean, he's super senior now, so a lot of it he has on his own, but we meet, we confer, we figure out who we're going to book, what we're going to do, how we're going to schedule it out. And, those are also series that I've co-created, over the years, all the stuff. So creating content, rolling out content, video content. I also work very closely with the social team. That for some years I've kind of headed the social team. Now I'm not really heading the social team, but I'm there in the interim position because there were some changes, but just, making sure that our social is up and running. And then we have a distro operation that we started. Genius was acquired in 2021. And when it got acquired, the new CEO said, hey, that he wanted us to start doing distro and signing artists and partnering with artists in that way.
So what is distro?
It's not exactly a record deal, a distribution deal. So at baseline, it's a deal that an artist signs with us that we make sure that we get their records on DSPs. But most artists can do that on their own now, and if you pay for a distro kit or a TuneCore or something like that. So we also offer services like we'll put you in the Genius system. We'll use our socials to help tell your story and our different content to help tell your story. But not only that, relationships. Like over these years, I built a ton of relationships. So it's pitching to DSPs and playlisting, and artists are still independent artists, and we like to let the artists be the artists, so they'll deliver us a project. But there's some artists that we have on our roster who come to us and say, hey, can you help me put this project together? I got 20 songs, I want to get it to 15, or how does this sound, or can we get in contact with this producer? So on paper, it's distribution, is getting your stuff to DSPs and using our genius infrastructure to market you, and that's basically what the contract reads. But really what it is, hey, whatever's at my disposal, however I can help, whatever kind of makes sense, we're going to do to help push and market these artists and help grow these artists. So that's been a fun and interesting ride.
What does an artist need to be, this huge superstar? Look at the experience. I know that's a super packed question. It's loaded.
If I knew, if I had the answer.
Or at least at this point, just to make a living off
Yeah.
of it. Is it not having their business?
So those are two different questions for sure. The superstar making a living.
Yeah.
But
So how does an artist, we'll start here, to make a living, right? Have you noticed that artists on the back end, they don't have their business right? Or what would be something that's hindering somebody right now from really being able to sustain as an artist?
Yeah, it's tough. And there's a lot of years. And it's like almost in anything. It almost takes 10 years of doing this and look back at your own experience of almost for free, next to nothing before. And that's almost in any industry. Like almost any professional would tell you that. Like I did this for 10 years and then it just started paying off. So one, I think is the consistency. But two is also like let's go back even the consistency is being more realistic of you have to invest in your career, right? But what are the right things that you're investing, taking in more than you put out as much as you can. But there's some artists, and it works for them, God bless them, who invest in the look, right? We know a lot of people that, right? We know stereotypically what a rapper is supposed to look like. So a lot of people will invest in that. But damn, fam, now your music is suffering. Your videos ain't really there. You look like a rapper, you look the part, but I don't hear it. I don't hear it in the mix. I don't hear it with the producers that you're messing with. So yeah, one is getting just the right finances and investing in the right way. And to me, it's investing in the sound and being like consistent with it. A lot of artists, like you seen what James Blake said about artists not, and it's unfortunate, he's absolutely right, that artists aren't making as much money off of the music now due to streaming, and that it is disrespectful to kind of tell an artist that, hey, put the music out and then you'll be lucky to go viral and then you could get a brand deal somewhere.
Right. Maybe.
If you're lucky, you know what I'm saying? That sucks. But the consistency, I look at somebody like Russ, who again, shouts to Russ, who I saw him through all these years trying to figure it out. But what he did is he never stopped putting out music, and he was doing it cheaply. He was doing it through TuneCore, or I think it was TuneCore that he was messing with at the time. It could have been DistroKid, but he's putting these records out. And then and it took years, nobody was listening. And then once like Losing Control starts to blow up, then the catalog, the high tide raises the boats. So, one of the great things that Russ did is that he never gave up. He kept consistently putting out music, almost in a Currency style. I think he was doing a song a week. And then when he caught one, when Kylie Jenner is all of a sudden putting Losing Control on her Snapchat, back when Kylie Jenner was on Snapchat and that was a thing, and all it took was one snap. And your song is out of here. Oh, who's this record? Who's this Russ guy? Oh, I like this record. What else does he have? And now he has this catalog for you to listen to, and the high tide raises the boat. So he has some songs, but then people start listening to everything. And he has enough of a volume of a catalog to now that streaming money that's coming in is healthy,
And he really understands the back end, right? The business of it. And I think that's really important, because it almost just feels like it's a secret, right? Like only a few people understand how to make money on the back end. It seems, in my opinion, I'm not an artist, but even me, someone who's been doing this for a very long time, 18 years in radio, I couldn't even tell you the back end of how an artist really makes money, especially in this day and age. Like it almost feels impossible if you're not touring.
The only time we learned was when TLC, remember when Left Eye broke it down?
That was so, listen, I have so, that was such a pivotal moment for us, seeing that on MTV. And I had actually pitched the content idea to somebody, and they weren't ready for it. But that was a pivotal, and they put the math on the screen.
Straight up, she was circling. So this is how much we come away with after paying our manager, our label back for this. So there's always like artists, I don't think when they sign their deals, I don't think they realize how much money that their advance is stuff they got to pay back.
Right.
So all them private jets, you got to pay that back.
Yeah.
That studio time, you got to pay it back.
And let me walk that back. When I said I didn't need to redline my writing contract. It was a one pager. I was
Right.
only locked in for one thing.
Right.
Artists definitely need to read their
Oh,
contract.
for
It's
sure.
designed. There's in there like in 2024, if you have manufacturing costs in your, like, nobody's making physical CDs, so you shouldn't be paying. Like, there's all these like hidden
Interesting.
fees in the. But yeah, and who you have to pay. Your lawyer has to get paid. Your manager gets a percentage. But some artists, like, do you need a manager? Some artists are like, are you at the point that you have something to manage? Like,
Right.
you know, I think the number one thing for artists is create and just put out music that you believe in, that you can stand behind, because it might boomerang back, you know, 5-10 years later. But yeah, it's tough out here.
It's
But
really hard. And I think that's one of the videos that I love that you were talking about. Again, just I'm so happy that you're sharing your perspective more. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about this.
Yeah.
It is
Thank you.
necessary. It is needed. And it is so important and so educational at the same time. But I want to talk about your thoughts on, you know, obviously Vultures 2 for Ye and Ty Dolla $ign. They are doing the model of selling it directly to fans versus going to streaming platforms, right?
Right.
Why is that important? And is this something that you feel other artists are going to start doing more?
yeah, I've heard of other artists who are also kind of planning to do this model for whatever reasons. You know, I think you have to be at a certain level. Like, look, it's like anything. You have to put out a product that people want to buy. The very real part about it is that DSP, Spotify, Apple is very convenient. You could,
Yeah.
I could pull that up anywhere. I can press play. I could, if I sent you a file right now, hey, I'm going to send you an MP3. Where would you play it?
On my phone,
How?
I press play.
So like in the text, you would press play in the text.
Absolutely.
Great, right? And that artists send me music all the time. We send
That's
each other
it.
music, press
Yeah.
play. But is that a great album listening experience? If
No.
somebody just texted you an album, because right, as soon as your screen goes dark,
It's done.
it's done.
It's the worst.
Like,
Yeah.
So there's a way to do it, and there are users who know. No, you use this app, or you could put it in the Notes app, or you could do this. There's different tricks. But the average, like us, like even
Yeah.
myself, it's like, well, okay, I have these files. How am I going to play it and have a good album listening experience?
Right.
So Spotify and Apple make it very convenient. You know, for artists like Kanye, like his fans are so diehard, they will figure it out. You know, so I don't think it's for everybody. But there's also a lot of indie artists who do that though now. La Russell is an artist out of the Bay who I love. Who
He's great.
You know, look, Nip had his Proud to Pay
right.
model. You remember when Nip
With
dropped
Crenshaw.
$100 mixtape? I was there.
Right.
We were on Twitter. We were online.
Yeah.
I've seen the comments. Like, don't lie to me because I was there.
Right.
Who does he think he is? $100 for a mixtape? That'll never work. Ha,
Wait,
ha.
people were saying that, really?
Oh, well, on social media, absolutely.
Maybe
There was
my algorithm's more positive because mine was like, wow, this is amazing.
Right.
This is crazy.
Or maybe I had an East Coast algorithm and people weren't as in tune.
Maybe.
Could be.
Could be.
I was in tune to Nip. I'm at Double XL when he was on the freshman cover. Like I was very in tune with Nip, and I got what he was doing. And the part that people leave out is that with that $100, it was a meet and greet.
Right.
I think he had Bel Air bottles, so people got a free bottle of champagne that might be $60. I think there was a concert ticket that came with it. So there was value as to it.
It was a package.
But the whole Proud to Pay movement was something that Nip really, I didn't necessarily start it, but that Proud to Pay moniker that you know spearheaded that and revolutionized it. And I see La Russell now talking about Proud to Pay. I know he got that from Nip. I know I never talked to him about it, but I know he had to be a fan of Nip. So he's leading that charge now. There's a lot of indie artists on Bandcamp. So there are a lot of indie artists who say, hey, I'm going to bypass this streaming model because the money doesn't come in as fast and maybe I don't have the volume to make the money meaningful, but I have a small group of 300 fans who I know every time I put something out, they'll pay $10 or $15 and I can count on this money reinvested, put something back and grow my fan base. So it works at a very indie level. And then if you're Kanye, I mean, he can
Right.
sell anything.
So I have a question. Why can't streaming platforms pay artists more? I mean, they charge us, right, regular consumers. Like I constantly feel like the prices are going up. I have no problem paying if I know, especially I don't mind paying more if I knew that the money, like the majority of it was going to artists. Cause like I care for artists.
Yeah. Well, it's a couple of things, right? And I don't have all of the answers, right? But we could definitely dive into it. If you're signed to a major label, then the money's not going to the artist, it's going to the major label first. So what's the label's cut of that streaming money before the artist gets their cut?
Right.
And so we got to be more transparent about that. And everybody's deal is different. And and artists also have to be honest. There's a lot of artists, right? We've heard this before from artists. I've never seen a check from my label.
Oh yeah, we hear it all the time.
But also, what size advance did you take?
Right.
Are your albums, which they probably are, cross-collateralized, which means that if you still owe money on your first album, they'll give you an advance for your second album, but that money you still owe gets tacked on, and all this, it's like anything. It's a loan with a high interest rate. So what advance did you take? You know what I'm saying? Some artists very willingly say, hey, I'll take the advance money, and then we'll figure out the back end later. And then when the advance money runs out, it's like, well, I'm not getting paid. And it was like, well, there was due diligence to be done. So it's not to say labels are like entirely evil. I also believe labels need to be way more transparent about what they're doing with artists. And two things can be true.
Right.
So when you pay the streaming money, it goes to the label first, then the artist. If you're streaming a Russ record, Russ gets his cut. There's no label. There's no middleman. A LaRussell, there's no middleman. So, it's more so going directly from the streaming service to them. But even still, it's a pie. Let's say, and Tidal does a good job at this, so it'll be interesting. It's a different model, but let's say I pay $10 a month, you pay $10 a month. Taylor Swift, right? The biggest artist in the world. And she deserves everything. I'm not saying Taylor Swift.
Don't get the Swifties
on.
us.
It's not even that.
Don't do it.
I don't listen to Taylor's music.
Right.
But I'm a Taylor fan.
Right.
Like I like how she's moving. Like her music doesn't necessarily speak to me. But so I say all that to say my $10 a month or whatever I pay for Spotify and Apple, I pay for all of them. I don't listen to Taylor's music. But part of my $10 a month is still going to Taylor because she streams the most. It's not like my $10 is going just to the artist.
To the artist that you listen to.
It's going to a pot and then it's
goes
being
out to
divvied
everyone.
up. Yeah, Tidal does have a model. I don't know if they still doing it.
Because it got bought out, right?
Tidal got bought out by Square. But Tidal did, and they very well may still have it. But Tidal had this model idea that if the artist that I listen to, like out of my subscription, let's say maybe $2 or $3 are carved out, that goes just to the artist that you listen to, just that the artist so off the top, the artist that you specifically listen to get a share, a bigger portion of the money that you pay per month, which I thought was a cool idea. But, I don't know how much the streaming is sustainable because after a while, everybody in the world, once you open up all the markets, everybody in the world, right, has streaming. And then who else do you subscribe to? When everybody has it, how do you grow your subscriber base? What we're seeing now is that the subscriber bases aren't growing as rapidly because it's adopted technology. Most people have it already. Most people who want to have it. But guess what doesn't stop growing? Artists. I don't want to mess it up, but there's some figure. It might be more than that now. Like 100,000 songs a day.
I know.
Get uploaded to Spotify. So that means the pie is getting bigger.
Ooh.
But the money isn't growing at the same rate as the pie. And then you're talking about catalog, because guess who do we never stop listening to? Bob Marley, Billy Joel. Like you think of like Elton John. Like you think of just catalog artists. So now it's not only the new artists, it's still we never stop listening to the classic music that we love. How does everybody get paid? I don't have the answer. Maybe even I got it wrong. This is just my perspective, but I just don't know that it's sustainable over a long period of time.
What album would you pay a lot of money for?
Like that I haven't already?
That you haven't already.
Who's out? Like a new album coming out or a classic album?
It could be. Well, let's do a classic and let's do a new album coming out.
I would pay if Jay dropped an album and said, I'm a Jay-Z fan. I'm from Brooklyn. I might go half. Like me and my brother might be like, yo, yeah, what I mean? Like, son, 250, like bust it down. I might go 4 ways, 125.
I'll get like 6 of the songs out of it. We'll start with that down payment.
1 week is at my house, 1 week is at your, like, you know what I'm saying? $500 is a lot, but $500 is a lot.
How about a classic album that you would pay $500?
$500? And I value records.
I know you do. I know you do. And you appreciate artists. You get the art.
I mean, look, my favorite album is Life After Death, rest in peace, B.I.G.
Right.
Like, so yeah, $500. All right, my wife is looking at me like now, like really 500, and she know I do it too.
Yeah.
It's a double album. I feel like maybe
Yeah, you get your money's worth.
more my money's worth is a double album.
Right.
500. Like I'm trying to justify it now. Y'all might have to give me the stems too. I may need the instrumental. Like I need everything. I need the reels that Big recorded on.
Right.
Yeah, I'll start making my own remixes. You're gonna start hearing Big on my album.
Right.
Like
500, yeah, for a classic, but I get that though.
yeah, Life After Death though. Purple Rain. Off the Wall.
Right. Oh
Thriller.
man.
Classic.
Reasonable Doubt. Like
Yeah.
yeah, we figured it out. Blueprint. We figured it out.
I remember you said that, and this is just circling back now. You were outside Hot 97,
Yeah.
passing out your mixtape.
Yeah.
Nessa and I work for Hot 97.
Yeah.
We know what we would do when people would be outside.
Right. I mean, listen, we were very, Katrina's so nice. I'm
so
nice,
nice.
and I think it's so hard for me to say no. Rob, I'm the worst. I can never like not acknowledge somebody. I'm like, oh my gosh, so tell me. And I will
Nessa will
stand
have
there
a
and
full-on
listen.
convo.
I do a full-on convo because it breaks my heart because I'm like, well, one, I'm not in charge of like the songs that get played, the music, but I care so much because I just don't, I want everyone to feel like their dreams are happening.
yeah.
So what happened? Did anyone take it?
Yeah.
Oh wait, who took it?
A bunch of people.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure everyone was treating you right.
There were a couple who were like assholes, and then also me though. I knew like, hey, I might got like 10 seconds of your time, 15. So I wasn't also trying to talk your ear off because I just knew who wants
Right.
to be there all this time. So I got to make an impression. Hey, this is my thing. This is what I'm about. Yo, check it out. My contact is in there. Yo, I love what you're doing. And a lot of it came from being like a fan. So a lot of people were nice. Man, Red Alert was so nice to me.
Oh, love Red.
Red.
Shout out to Red Alert.
He's so sweet.
Everybody was nice. And so the mailroom that I worked in is across the street from Hot. So 435 Hudson Street, Hot at the time was $3.95. So I'm 2 blocks away. So man, I used to go with the mail cart, and you know where the post office is on Varick.
Yes.
So I'm dragging the mail cart. I might just stop, boom, 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 start handing my stuff out. So
I love this.
lunch breaks, after work, whatever. Sometimes, Angie.
Yeah.
Was big in the afternoon at that time on Hot. So she would announce, hey, this week we got so-and-so coming up, so-and-so. So I would strategically plan my joints. 2004 is when I first started.
Oh, so you would know who was coming up to the studio because she was talking about it. And so you would,
I would do
Smart.
a freestyle
love
over
it.
one of their joints
Come
or something
on.
like
Oh
that.
my God.
Like
Rob.
I was still real strategic. And so 2004, College Dropout, Kanye, I had got a Kanye beat tape. There was a beat that I knew somebody who knew Kanye. I got a beat tape. There was a beat that didn't get used. So I did a whole song over it. So I remember Kanye coming out, and it was him and Don C. And Kanye was on the phone. So again, I'm not a dickhead.
right.
So I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna go bother yet. He's
Right.
on the phone call. That's crazy rude. How am I gonna win doing that?
Right.
Let me go up to Don C. And again, I'm such a fan. I knew who they were. So yo, Don, I got this CD. Da 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 da. So I start handing it to Don, and Ye was like, and he don't remember this at all.
Yeah.
Yo, what's that? He put his call down. Yo, what's that? Oh, okay, I'll check it out. Da 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 da. Dapped up, and that was it. So the fact that he would even interrupt his phone call, I was like, you know what? Cool. Nothing ever came from it. I tried to give J-Lo a CD. I did a J-Lo remix.
And how did that go?
Not well. She didn't take it. She was like, yo, I can't take it. I remember my mom was so mad when I told her the story.
Why didn't she just take it?
I don't know. But what I had figured it out at the time, I ain't understand it. I'm like, damn, like.
Where did you say this is outside of Hot?
It's outside of Hot. But
Oh, come on.
What I had probably
I'm
gathered.
like annoyed for you right now.
My mother to this day, my mother
She feels the way
still
about
brings us up
J-Lo.
whenever J-Lo, I can't stand her. She ain't take your CD. But I told her, I don't know, right? But what made sense in my mind, because she was nice about it, like it wasn't, but if you give an artist something and then they end up with it and then you sue them, you're like, no, I gave her my CD. She heard my song.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, is it to protect the lawsuit?
Right.
Of
Maybe.
Is how I justified it in my mind.
You're being nice.
You're being very nice.
I try. I'm not because it's just like, yo, sometimes it's not you. There's other reasons. I remember one time, I never told this story, but again, I was strategic.
Yeah.
So it was the day before Valentine's Day. And again, Angie, also me knowing that doesn't necessarily control the playlist.
Right.
But what did Angie have? She always had a promo song, an intro.
Right.
That an artist would give her to her thing. So I did a couple of promos for Angie. I put it on the CD right before Valentine's Day, and I came with a single rose.
I love it.
And some chocolates.
Come on now.
And in a gift bag, and plus with the CD, and gave it to Angie. She was very nice. Again, she don't remember this. Like, I know Angie now, and we cool now.
Wait, did anything come of that though?
So what happened was she had Fat Joe up that day. So I go back to the mailroom because I got work to do.
Right.
So I'm tuned in. I'm just like, yo, she gonna play my joint. What's gonna happen?
And wait, mailroom for which gig is this?
It was a company called Delia's that used to sell women's clothes. They used to have stuff in the mall. It was a catalog. So I worked in the mailroom at Delia's. So all of a sudden, Angie, she's interviewing Fat Joe.
Oh no.
And she's eating. You can tell she's eating something. And she offered Fat Joe. She's like, yo, you want a piece of chocolate? Da, 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 da. Like, so I'm like, oh, that's the chocolates I gave her. So they eating my chocolates. Message received. What's up with the record though?
At least she opened it.
Yeah. So again, I wasn't mad. It wasn't no whatever. But like you're just looking for a chance for any shot. And then one time it kind of backfired on me. Again, I'm just being creative. I had a record that I did about sneakers. It was called Sneaker Fiend. Like all my friends that I grew up with. You know how your friends gas you up? Like to this day, they be like, yo, that Sneaker Fiend record you did back in the day. I'm like, first of all, fam, it was trash. Nah, yo, that shit was hot, dog. Nah, that was the one. So Raekwon was up at Hot 97. And I know Ray, again, I'm a fan of Ray. Sneakerhead. So I put the CD in a sneaker box.
Wow.
And then gave it to him. Like, I'm just thinking presentation.
Oh, no.
So when he got it, he was cool. Yeah. He was like, yo, fam, you got me a pair of sneakers? And he was hype. Oh, shit. Like, what? Da, da, da. And I'm like, nah, it's my mixtape. And then he opened it. I could kind of see the disappointment. I was like, damn, I might have took that one too far. He wasn't about it. Ray was always super cool. He didn't know me. He didn't know me anything. But he was like, yo, fam, you got me sneakers? And he opened it up. And it was just, and I was like, damn, I overshot that one.
You know what I love? The effort you put into.
I love this
I love
effort.
it. Like, what was the most creative way? Because I know people tried to get you to listen to the records. Like, has anything even matched your energy as far as receiving music?
That's a good question.
Has to be no. If you can't think of, you just gave us 5 great examples that you did.
People get creative, but not that I could think of.
Now it's just a USB in passing.
It was probably Russ on Twitter. If I had the most memorable was Russ on Twitter. He told the story before. He wrote about it in his book. He had his handle used to be I Make Classics. Mm-hmm. So dude was always very high on himself. And I was playing 2K. So I'm on Twitter talking, yo, I'm playing 2K, da da da. And I'll kill you in 2K, yo, if I beat you, you got to listen to my joint. And I'm just like, man, get out of here. And then he was like, I think he DM'd me. And he was like, yo, my joint, my man joint. He was producer for his man Boogus. Yo, his album, it's better than Illmatic. Da, da, da.
Okay.
So I'm pissed at this point, right? I'm like, all right, send me the record.
Yeah. I've had enough.
Because if not, and I listened to it and it was good. It wasn't better than Illmatic.
But it was good.
It was good. So I hit him and I was like, yo, bro, this is actually good. Yeah. But stop saying it's better than Illmatic. Because now my thing is you're going to piss other people off. You're not going to. But he was like, if I didn't say something crazy, would I have gotten your attention? I was like, yo, that's true. But Russ to me always had good music, and that was early on. So that was probably the most creative. He pissed me. He was so annoying. And now I don't. Now if people spam me, it makes me want to listen to it less.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So
for sure.
sometimes I'll just listen to some stuff somebody asks, or they're just really cool about it. So don't spam me because that'll just not make me want to listen. And then if I do listen and shit ain't good, then you just wasting my time. Right. It'll piss me off.
What did you think about Nelly? He was on The Shop talking about his era. Obviously, we're talking about the peak and the competition during that time. He said it was the hardest time. And because obviously he's competing against giants, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree that era was the most competitive era because it was such great music?
It's tough. I think so though. I like when he says it. I agree.
It was a tough era
yeah,
though. I mean, everything that was coming out was good.
Yeah, and there's a lot that I don't agree with Nelly. I love Nelly. I'm a Nelly fan, but I'm a New Yorker, so the Air Force One debate is still like.
Wait,
fair.
why? Wait, why, Rob?
That's not New York. That's
yeah,
a
but
New
it was
York
such
thing.
a good. But it was
No,
such,
it was a good song. But
was a great.
But that's a New York thing. Nelly ain't make Air Force Ones hot. Air Force Ones was always hot.
Okay, but for just a little conversation, I feel like Tim's were very New York. So can they have Air Force Ones?
No. And if anything,
Can we share?
And shout to Baltimore because
Right.
Baltimore was very influential. Baltimore actually, they were going to discontinue Air Force Ones, Nike, because they weren't selling. And Baltimore was buying them and requesting them in different colors. And Baltimore actually saved the Air Force One. So if there's anybody I'm
That's
gonna give it up
amazing.
to is
It's
Baltimore.
Okay, so we stand corrected, all of us.
But New York, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like we call uptowns, though. Like
yeah.
they uptowns. But back to Nelly. Yeah, look, the only moving units is M, Pimp Juice, and us. Like, so you got Jay-Z, you got Eminem, you got Nelly, but not only that,
DMX.
Wayne.
right? You had
Wayne.
DMX, Ja Rule.
Yeah.
Like
man.
the Ja Rule,
Ludicrous.
the Ja Rule erasure has to stop.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
The fact that Ja Rule is way more to hip hop and has contributed way more than being just 50 Cent's nemesis. Like, we got to cut it out.
I love that you said
You know
that.
what I'm saying? Like, we
Right.
got to cut. Like, I saw the Piers Morgan interview that he did,
Right.
and I thought, it was corny.
Right. And it just feels like that's what you're going to I don't know. It just felt like there's so much more to who Ja Rule is.
Yeah.
Maybe we're biased because we just love Ja's
That
catalog.
was an era.
That
Ja?
was an era.
Yeah.
Murder Inc.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
He was everywhere.
Yeah, so the erasure has to stop.
Stop the discrediting
And I
with it.
love 50. Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The other thing I don't understand, like, we came up in that era, like Jay and Nas was beefing,
Right.
and Jay is my favorite. I still bought Stillmatic. I still love Nas. I still
Right.
had to get the Nas CD. 50 and Ja's beefing. I had my favorites. Like 50 was on fire. I always was a big Ja fan, but when Get Rich or Die Trying
That was
came on, like,
different.
we was on the Get Rich or Die
Right.
Trying. But that didn't stop me. Just
From,
because
like-
50 didn't like Ja, I'm still
Right.
getting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I still like the music.
Nah, yeah, and I get why 50 is beefing with Ja.
Right.
Ja didn't do nothing to me. It's f***ed up that you got shot 9 times.
Absolutely.
I'm good. I didn't get shot 9 times. I can't take up this beef for you. But it was good. It was entertaining and hip hop in that way. But both of them was putting out great music. Like, I don't understand where we are in this era of stans and fan armies and fandoms. Where, like, and I was gonna make a video about this, but we could just talk about it here. Like, yo, Barbs. This me right here.
Yeah, get him because we don't we love
I love the Barbs, the Swifties. We love
We
it all.
got, we got the Swifties
Nah.
and the Barbs coming after us.
I love the Barbs. But when the Cardi B song, you don't turn it up just a little bit. Like, you don't feel it just a little bit. Like, Cardi got joints.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's up, then it's stuck.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Yeah, just
The Barbs go hard.
they go
I know,
hard.
I know.
They go
I know,
hard.
and I respect it.
Right.
But as a fan of hip hop,
Right.
Yeah.
when you hear something like that's just dope, like,
Right.
can you just deny it?
Did you ever?
I don't know.
When you were more, let's say, a fan, younger Rob, did you fall into any fandoms? Were you okay? So
no, not fandoms. Not like.
like
Stan-
were you
standing?
standing for anybody, or just like where you're like, you took, how they felt personal, like in the sense of like, my favorite artist didn't like that person, so I'm gonna kind of side with them.
The Big and Pac was hard for me, being from Brooklyn, being from New York, because I was a Pac fan. I had Pac's CDs and albums up until that beef. Then I was like I was confused.
Right.
Like, and New York, to dispel the myth, like, New York with Pac.
Right. Pac. First off, Pac was born here, okay, and literally loved New York. I always have to remind people, loved New York.
And was always out here, like the time when he had Juice like Pac.
Right.
Like, just that character and body with the 40 Belows, the Carhartt,
Yes.
that was us.
Like everything about Pac, especially early on, was so New York.
Listening to Hot 97, like, I get around, keep your head up, like, play
That's right.
in rotation 24/7. So we with Pac's music, but when him and Big started clashing, it was like watching the Source Awards at home, because I was at home.
Right.
Like I was a kid.
Right.
Watching the Source Awards was confusing to me. It was like, what was going on, and do I have to pick a side? And for a while, I felt like I couldn't listen to Pac. But I used to have friends coming over. I had the biggest CD collection on the block out of all my friends, and it was like, man, you listen to the Pac CD? Yeah, crazy. But then after the Big thing, it was like, damn, bro, like what am I supposed to do now? So, but I still love Pac. I'm still a fan of Pac, but it was definitely during that period when they was beefing.
And we were kids,
like,
right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we were so impressionable at that time. How much do you feel like the media played a part in that division between East Coast, West Coast? Because we saw it on the magazine covers. You know, at that time, you would have more of a say of what was happening on the radio on Hot 97. I would say this. On the West Coast, we heard Big all the time. I don't feel that West Coast radio took the stance like East Coast radio. I could be wrong, but that is what I was exposed to. I don't feel like Big's records ever slowed up.
Yeah. I don't know that Pac's did. It might have been like a couple months.
Sure.
Until he died, maybe a year.
Right.
But I think New York did take it more personal than like, I didn't know that about the West Coast, but I could see how New York takes it a little more personal. But you also gotta look, Pac was super on the offensive. Like Big was trying to deflect. Like Big wasn't feeding into it as much as Pac. Pac was just like insult after insult after insult. It was like, damn, how much more can you take? But yeah, I think it got a little personal. I think media played into it for sure with the magazine covers and the back and forth interviews and the he said, she said. So I think media absolutely played into it, and I see ways now that I'm in media, how media can play into beef now.
Oh, yes.
There's certain things that I won't do. I've had artists, there's certain artists you know when they drop a diss record that is for the art, and nobody's, and then there's other artists when you know it feels more dangerous. I've had artists want to come to Genius and break down their diss records, and it like drill artists per se, and I'm just like, nah, there's an energy here that this interview is only going to add fuel to the fire.
Yes.
You're welcome to come to Genius. We're not breaking down that song.
Right.
Let's break down the song about the girl in your life or something like that.
Right.
Like, I'm not doing this because one, I don't want it to fuel a beef, and two, I don't want it to end up in court and be Exhibit A.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the media definitely fueled, but the people involved also have to take accountability.
Sure.
Like the Pac Big thing, like it wasn't Fantasyland. It wasn't some that Vibe magazine made up. Like there was something there, and you know, I think there were certain people in the industry, in the camps, pushing the line and put people in danger.
Right. So in this day and age, you know, I feel like obviously because we've seen it, your career began, and when you started writing is post Pac and Big, right?
Yeah.
Same for us, right? All of us. We were kids when all this was happening, but I remember being very impressionable. Like it was very, very serious. I also didn't really understand what was going on at that time. I was like, wait, what? But there was a certain energy. And fast forward to now, I think maybe that's why we are very mindful about certain things. And not saying that we've always been perfect in our careers, right? Like especially starting off in radio at 19 years old or whatever. But I do think the fact that you're mindful of, okay, what we're going to put on the platform, because what this can result into is so much more important than getting clicks.
Yeah.
And it's hard in this day and age because it almost feels like trauma, negativity tends to, you know, do the numbers. Yeah. And it's hard when you care about music, the art, the culture, when you care so much. How do you find balance in that? How do you report or discuss or share your perspective in a way that you know, okay, I don't want it to be so harmful that it results into somebody not having a paycheck or being harmed? How do you find that balance, and will we get to a better place?
It's easy because I value there's things that I value more than clicks. There's things that I value more than money. There's things that I value more than, you know, sometimes you get an interview. Shout out to Guru. Guru called me one time. You know, I had just interviewed Jay on Twitter Spaces, and he was like, yo, you in that white hot space. So sometimes too, as media people, when we get the hot interview, when we get the big interview, you're in that white hot space. Only lasts about a week, and then something new happens, right? I'm saying it, so more than money, more than clicks, more than being in that white hot space, I value us. Like, this is our thing. When look, and we're seeing it now with people getting laid off.
Oh,
with
yes.
media companies falling. There's a divestment in our culture, in our music, in our art. People are pulling the money out. When they leave, when the investors leave, when the corporations leave, when they divest in it, guess what? This is still our I'm still going to be here. You're still going to be here. So we're going to have to be responsible. So I think a little further than just a click.
Right.
Like, are we going to be okay 10 years from now? Where are we going to be 20 years from now? Can I pass this on to another generation to help teach people? So, it's just more important. Like, this is my like, I still, like, some people get to go home at the end of the day. I say too, because we all work, you, I don't know if you see it at Hot, but certain corporate building, like, there's some people that work in our business and work in the business of hip hop. And when they go home,
that's it.
It's like Mr. Rogers. They get to take the hip hop off.
Right.
I just am who I am. Like, you put me in a boardroom, I'm dressed the same way. I'm coming in sneakers and a hat, and I have all my hair under here, but I just always wear a hat. It just is what it like. My don't come off. I talk the way I talk. It's just, it don't come off. So we're gonna have to live with this for the rest of our lives. So that's why we treat it a little better.
I think too, the two of you guys have been really responsible with your platforms and having integrity and not feeding into the clickbait. Both of you guys.
You too, because you've been there every step of the way.
Right.
And we don't always get it right.
We don't always get it right. But I guess, do you think at some point not feeding it to the clickbait might have had you lose a moment,
of course,
hindered a portion of your career where you could have had more moments, but you're standing by your integrity?
Yeah.
Well, Rob, you go first, because
I
know
hit you with the question. I know your answer, but
like, we know, and I'm sure Nessa know. I know what gets clicks. I know what gets people going. And let's be real. There's people who prey on it, but we also got to check ourselves as a community, as an audience, because that's that we love to click on. We love some mess, man. We love some dirt. We'll click. I'm guilty. Like, sometimes I partake. I just won't use my platform. But yeah, I'm aware of all the that's going on.
Always aware.
I know. I'm at this point where I'm doing my own videos now. My own 90-second interview. There's a lot of that I could get into right now. You know what I mean? But I'm not in. It's just not worth it to me. I'm good.
The harm is greater than, it outweighs than, I guess, you benefiting yourself from it.
And even right, and even more so than the harm, because first of all, I fully believe in karma come back
some way, somehow, sure.
But just the way I feel, the way it makes me feel, like, I just don't feel good about preying on somebody when they're at their lowest. It just doesn't make me feel good when I lay in bed at night. You know what I'm saying? So I need to be right with myself before anything.
I think for me, it's that can exist, but I think there's not enough of a balance, or just, I don't want to say positive, but just, it doesn't have to always go to a negative place. Like, I understand people are going to want to click on it. Like, I just don't think that we are in a world where we can avoid that. Right. But I think having a balance, having a different perspective where it can give you just a more well-rounded outlook. And I think I would like to see more of that, because we know the other stuff isn't going to stop. It's just not going to stop. And listen, there's a segment of people who love it, a large segment of people who love it. So
it's a business.
It's a business.
It's a whole business.
Like recently, like in recent Diddy, right?
Sure.
And the recent allegation that he had from Lil Rod was the guy's name. So this allegation comes out, and I'm looking at the paperwork, and I've never seen paperwork. I've seen a lot of paperwork in my reporting, and I've never seen a lot. Like, it had names, it had pictures of sexual acts, like the language, the way it was written. I just don't know. Like, so my antennas are up. But then the conversation quickly becomes, and it was mostly on social media. I saw some media platforms partake in this. I saw a lot of people acting responsibly, but I saw some media platforms, but it was mostly so. All of a sudden, it gets to Meek.
Right.
And then there's a whole crime being alleged here.
Right.
And potential victims and people who are really hurt. And the whole conversation that we as a community talk about for that day is whether or not Meek is gay. Mm-hmm. And then forcing Meek, and look, I don't think Meek handled it right. Now Meek is coming out like defending why he isn't gay. The way he did it, I'm like, Meek has no filter. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the conversation became an attack on sexuality as opposed to and even Meek was a victim of that. Now he has to defend himself. He's not the most politically correct guy, so it's not going to come out right. I do believe his heart was in the right place, but what he spewed out just kind of just came out wrong to me. And there's actual potential victims here.
Right.
And this is what we're talking about. Yo, we got to check ourselves. And it's not just media. I know everybody likes to blame media. It's not just media. As a community, we got to check ourselves.
And also, it's like, we don't know what's going on. It's not even saying his name in the documents, right? It's just like the description, I get it, is so clear of who they're talking about. But in general, the responsibility behind people even reporting on it, it's just like being responsible on what is being said. But also, like you said, now that the internet is open, anybody can have an opinion. And yeah, the conversation completely gets hijacked from where the focus should be on potential crimes and harm being done. It's a really tough place to be with social media.
Yeah.
And you can't have a nuanced conversation on social media.
There's no such thing. And I also think the lawsuit, and I'm not, there's somebody out there who is way more knowledgeable than me and how these lawsuits work and how they're written. And I would love to hear that perspective. All I'm saying from my perspective, I had never seen anything like that where they redacted the name. It was like such and such was on the yacht with Diddy. Such as redacted. So redacted means that we're omitting the name.
Right.
And then the footnote is a Philly rapper who used to date Nicki Minaj. Like, it looked like that thing was made to fuel that type of gossip. And it wasn't the only one. It was like name redacted artist who just performed at the Super Bowl. I wonder who that is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just seemed wildly irresponsible. Like, everybody is just chasing clout. So what is this about? And again, I'm not even saying that Lil Rod, again, I believe that there are real victims in this situation. I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe that people are hurt. But now I'm questioning the intentions. And I don't know. But I'm questioning the intentions based off of how this information is presented. Because are we trying to right or wrong here? Or are we trying to fuel gossip headlines and out who's the gay rapper? It feels like the 90s again. Like you know what I mean? You know, I know Wendy is going through it, but that was an era when that was a big thing. It was like, oh, who's the gay rapper and whatever. And our culture was super homophobic. Yo, it's 2024. We don't give a anymore what you do in your bedroom, man. Like, it's whack.
Speaking of Wendy, what are your thoughts on her? I don't know if you had a chance to see the documentary.
Yeah, no, I saw it.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's really, I know it's going to sound very strange, but I don't want to see it because the clips that I saw, I feel like I'm partaking in something that just feels very wrong. What were your thoughts on it after you watched it? Do you regret watching it, or did it give you insight? Do you think I should watch it?
I don't regret watching it. I had personal reasons. So my mother-in-law, my wife's mother, currently is living with dementia. And before my father-in-law, before her dad passed, he also passed away. He had dementia when he passed away. I feel for Wendy's family and the people that love her in real life, because I've saw firsthand that's a hard thing to deal with. And I'm not quite still sure what the diagnosis is. It looks like there's a couple of medical things going on. Dementia is tough because you know this person your whole life and they almost don't know you. You don't know that side of them, and they can say some really hurtful things or do some hurtful things. So it's tough on the family. So, I watched it, and me and my wife watched it together. So it was part of that, just to kind of maybe see what other people were going through. Sometimes, not that you take comfort in it, but it's like, oh, okay, you're not alone in when this happens with your family. Okay, there's ways. Okay, maybe this is how you cope with it. So I didn't feel guilty about watching it, and I know there's a lot of talk about whether or not she should be seen like that, and I get that too. But, this is also the media world, and Wendy helped revolutionize that, where we were in everybody's business. I'm not saying an eye for an eye or that she necessarily deserves that, but I'm just saying this is part of the media. This is just where media is right now. Like Like we know
Especially
everything
right
about
now.
everybody.
Right.
You know, I don't think it stops for one person. Unfortunately, like this is you know what it says. This is bigger than Nino Brown, baby. Like it's just it's huge now. Like I don't think it's gonna stop. There's no compassion in this anymore.
And that makes
If there
me,
ever was, I don't know that there ever was.
I was gonna say, was there a time that there was more compassion?
Nah, because before that, it was, you know, I remember my mother used to come home with the National Enquirer and Star Magazine and, you know, Wacko Jacko and you know what I'm saying, all the things they would say about Michael Jackson and just other celebrities and who got this facelift and who did this and who cheated on who. And so, I mean, that's an industry.
Right.
You know?
I don't know. I feel like, okay, maybe somebody who has a crush on somebody or somebody, they might be dating is so different than the content we're exposed to now.
Yeah.
It feels a bit just,
Yeah.
I don't know, heavy.
Because it's never enough. You know what I'm saying?
That part too, and the
that's
news
what it
cycle
is.
is nonstop. So you're constantly refreshing, and you're consuming, and we're getting addicted to our phones, and just wanting to be entertained all the time by any means at this point, right?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just, and we're in it. We're in this matrix. Now we're going into a conversation about AI and really being able to tell what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
And that's really complex because now there's technology that could possibly make some information that is not true be perceived like it's real.
Yeah.
This is a scary time.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're seeing the advances of it where it is taking your face and it can learn your cadence, your talk, your everything, and it can create a whole video like it's Rob saying something that you never said or don't even believe in.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
even an artist now on your record that
Yeah.
wasn't going
Now
to be
you
on
can
your
have
record.
big voice on your record.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like you look at the pros and cons. You're like, oh, that's exciting. I can experiment with music and stuff, and it's kind of exciting. Then you're like, wait. This could go to a really dark place really, really fast, and who
Yeah.
benefits from it? And by the way, I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you think AI is going to change? I guess first we'll talk about the journalism industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It already has. I mean, look, the journalism industry is, and it's not just we see it. Pitchfork is down. Complex just got sold again. You know, a lot of, at least in our world,
Yeah,
right?
Vice,
Oh,
Hip
lots
Hop,
of
Lyrics,
layoffs.
Look,
all of them.
let's be real. Double XL isn't what it used to be. The Source isn't what it used to be. We're just being real.
Yeah.
There was a huge divestment, but the fact of the matter is that that's just our world. Journalism as a whole has been under attack. Like this election
Oh, yes.
is going to be a doozy. You know, when the former president is everything is fake news and you know he's already said just his war with media. Imagine what happens if he gets elected. What's going to happen? You know.
And now there's technology to, you know, push his agenda,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, what is going to happen?
Yeah. I think we're in trouble. I think. Listen, I think AI is a tool, and I think there are a lot of great uses for it. Like I would, you know, because you could do like just so many computations, and can we use AI to cure cancer? Let's start there,
Right.
Before we start putting journalists out of jobs and being like, so this corporation can pay their staff less because they don't got to keep a big staff,
Right.
and we can AI it. We don't need y'all. Okay, that's for your bottom. That's not for the better. Let's start with cancer.
Right.
Show me that this can kill cancer first.
Right.
Like show me, like I do believe it's a tool, and it's how you use the tool. I think when we start using the tool to increase profits, and then but also take the humanity out of just the things that we do, like certain shit just needs a human touch.
Well, it's capitalism.
Yeah,
That's the world that we function in.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's like, let me see how this technology is for the betterment of humanity. Please, before we go down this path of just exploitation, just for the bottom line, let's get something out of this.
yeah. Before like show me something, dog.
Show me something.
Like and look, I'm also not the well-versed on
Sure.
like capitalism versus socialism versus communism and what works where and how it works. But also the way we're headed, like, will capitalism really work by putting mass amount of people out of jobs?
Who's going to pay to consume?
And killing industries? Like is that really good for anybody? You know, I also do believe it's not a zero-sum game. Like there will be new jobs created. This technology will create new jobs that we never thought of. But slow the f- down a little bit. We need journalists and fact checkings and you know what? We have enough photographers. Everybody is a photographer on their phone.
Right.
I don't need AI to get a picture from me, man. Do you realize like we grew up, we used to have like photo albums. You have to get it developed. Like, so you might have had 5 or 6 different photo albums. Like your phone probably has more pictures than your parents ever had. You probably have it right now in your phone. As society right now, we have more still images than ever.
Just in the last week. In the last week on my phone.
We don't need no more pictures, dog. Like I don't need AI to come up with another picture for me.
Yeah.
Everybody's like it's insane, man.
It is.
But and the other side of it is just historically, you're not going to beat technology. The technology is going to keep going.
Never.
So we are going to have to learn how to adapt and keep our humanity, keep our art. You know, I think once you take the humanity out of art when it comes to music like that, it ceases being art. It's a product after that.
What do you think about the music industry, the record labels, the massive layoffs? I mean, we're seeing it with RCA, Universal, Warner, Atlantic. And what does this mean for an artist when they are seeing massive layoffs happening within record labels?
First of all, Universal profits are up with the layoff. Like the stock price went up.
Like,
you know, so it's all of a thing to get the stock prices up, right? And
so do massive layoffs so that, you know, the shareholders see it. Right.
So I did a video on this as well, and I called a couple of managers because again I saw everybody reporting on it, and with all due respect, a lot of talented people that I know that I'm sure you know, people lost their jobs, and that's real, and they're gonna have to figure it out, and I wish them the best. But I was thinking of that too. Well, how does this affect the artist? So I actually did, instead of turning on my camera and giving my opinion, I made a couple calls to a couple of managers that I know of multi-platinum, Grammy Award-winning art. Like, how does this affect? And, you know, one thing that was told to me, a couple of things. An artist may potentially lose their champion in the building. Like, sometimes you're signed by one regime. A lot of times artists have one person or just a few people who understand their vision and can go to the rest of the label and communicate that across departments. So artists may potentially lose that and will have to form new relationships. So that means things don't get done as quickly. Another manager told me, well, you gotta look at where the budget cuts were. So like video departments were cut. So he was like, more than likely our video budgets are also gonna be cut. Publicity was cut. So that gets outsourced, right? Radio budgets cut. So, you know, less chances at radio. One manager told me his artists had turned in their album. They had a budget approved, and now they're re-examining the budget, and so they're going to lose resources on how to market and promote these albums. So you know it's going to be tough for artists too. They're going to have to like figure it out. It's not just the labels that will figure it out because you have less people. Artists, at least that we've seen, haven't gotten dropped.
Right.
So you have the same amount of artists and less people to work them. You know, it's going to be tough.
It's tough. Well, like you've been in the game a long time, right? So you're very active on Twitter. You have your opinions. You have your platform. I know that there's been conversations about hip hop media platforms not necessarily getting the love from artists that they used to anymore. I saw you had a back and forth that got resolved.
I did?
With Elliot.
Oh,
Wilson.
okay, yeah.
So it did get resolved, right? Because you guys were going back and forth because if I can just rewind it back, Elliot was commenting on the fact that, you know, people are going to other platforms, right? So that seems like what was the basis of the whole conversation that he was trying to start was they're going to platforms and not going to hip hop media. And then he kind of maybe felt away as well about Lil Baby and Ryla Rodriguez was like, Sway's the GOAT.
Right. That's the part that got me.
Okay, so that was the part that
that's the part that set me off. I think Elliot is right. I think and he's been vocal about it. And I think he's right in essence. I have you know this. I don't know if you've experienced this, but you know, in my career, when I first got into Double XL, for example, I was like, all right, man, I'm interview Jay-Z and Dr. Dre and Lil Wayne, but I was the new guy. So it was like, nah, you're not. No.
Yeah.
So
you gotta wait.
Who did I start to interview on the come up? The Kendricks, the Wizzes, the Mac Millers, rest in peace, my brother. I love you. I miss you.
That's right.
you know, the up and coming. So it does feel like there are a group of us, or there's some of us who like we're there in the beginning, and then when an artist gets to a point, they stop coming back. And it's like, yo, you got to realize this is a community, this is an ecosystem, but this is how I eat too. So it's like, yeah, go do your thing, like do 60 minutes for sure.
Right.
But then come back. And then I think there are plenty of us within hip hop media who are responsible with our platform, as we were talking about, but we get lumped in with everything else. I remember I was hurt, and J. Cole had written a foreword in Angie Martinez's book where he was criticizing hip hop media, and he wasn't wrong. What he was saying was true about the same thing we're talking about, the gossip, the muck, the this, the that. But I'm like, damn, you're Cole. Like, bro, you know B-Dot, like, you know me, you know Elliot, you know Sway, like, now let's use the star power that you built to help empower those too, and then we can be the example for everybody else.
Right.
At least that's my idealistic way. So I, in a way, yes, I believe with Elliot. The thing that set me off that we did resolve is when they said that Sway was the GOAT, and Elliot took exception to that, and I was just like, why did you have to step on Sway's moment? You could have just let that rock. Like, and Sway don't bother nobody. And that's my OG. That's my big homie. And I know Sway wouldn't say it himself. But that's my thing. I'm very passionate. I'm very like, I come from that environment. I'm from Flatbush, Brooklyn. Like, I came up in the 80s and the 90s era. Like, it's in me. That's not who I am. But, and then if you show it all the time, and I'm not saying I'm a tough guy, but there's a fieriness to it. And then like, if you out here wilding every day, it's like, then the message isn't clear. But I did go off because I felt that I got emotional, and there was no filter. Like, but you gotta understand where I was at when even I let that tweet off. I was in I was selling my house and closing on another one. So I was in the lawyer's office. We were closing on the crib.
That will do it.
And I let it go. We were there in the lawyer's.
You were annoyed.
And my wife looked at me. She was like, really? Like, not like this is where you choose? Like,
right.
Can you grow up?
Send,
No,
post, go
right now.
But yeah, Ella and I got on the phone, and
I'm glad that you guys actually hopped on the phone, because people are like, oh, you guys should not put this on social media, but
it happens,
sometimes
man.
you got to.
Yeah, because that's how people hear it. But then, so what are your thoughts with like the biggest hip hop artists, right? They're going to these other platforms like the streamers like Kai Cenat, Aiden Ross, and then they're even going to these podcasters like a Bobby Altoff, who nobody knows where she came from, came out of nowhere. Supposedly her dad is in the industry, so that's how she's popping. But they're not going to the established hip hop media brands.
I think where we stand, and I don't want to speak for everybody, it's do it all. It's like, yeah, do those. Like, if that's what you want, if you're compelled enough to, you want to go on a streamer's site that, may not get in depth about your music or your life or where you're at. If that's something you want to do, great. I think there's also the part of people who love and appreciate you and have been following you for a long time that would love to have an in-depth conversation about your work, your world, and what does this mean? And let's document, another important milestone in your life.
Yeah.
Because the Kais are fun. The Kais show is fun.
Absolutely.
I was watching, I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, I enjoy watching Kai. And I think it's one of those things, I just want everyone to do all of it, because I also don't like putting people in a box. It's like, oh, you have to do this or you can't do this. And that. It's like, no, I just think like for us who have like, we're pretty, I don't know, fair in our perspective. I think we just want both. We want to experience both with you.
You're on a press run. Let's hear it all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Do it all. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I have no issue with Kai. The Bobby thing was like weird.
Well,
but I was trying to figure it out. Like, is this a shtick? Like, I'm like, why would you go there and get disrespected? And it took a little while to figure out like this is a shtick.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And initially none of us knew that
I still
was
didn't get
a
it.
thing.
I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, I was like very confused. Like, why would you want to go somewhere that, doesn't want to platform you or like respect you? But then, then you find out later, maybe it worked, because look, it fooled all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it goes back to we all like to be entertained. And I like funny shit, like, what I mean?
Yeah, we love it.
But Tyler has said something recently, and this is why I believed in Genius so much, because when I got to Genius was the website with the annotations, and it was great. And when I got there is the beginning, and shout out to Brendan and Liz, and it was the beginning of building content over there. And hey, artists can come in and they were doing interviews with Genius before, but doing something that real more front and center. And at the time, my motivation at least was like, I wanted to give you the alternative. Like, I felt like that artists couldn't come. Artists were doing interviews and they never talk about the actual music. You might spend a year, 8 months to a year recording an album, and then you do an interview at radio, at wherever, and you only talk about the music for 5 minutes.
I know.
And then you talk about everything else. And so I was like, hey, I didn't want to replace that. I wanted to give you the option, like, hey, this is where you come talk about the music. So that's what we built at Genius. That's what I felt we built. Some of verified, like, we get the criticism, like verified, where people break down the lyrics. It was like, well, you didn't really need to explain that song. It was very self-explanatory. So there's an entertainment element.
Right.
Like, not everything is that deep, but you
you talked about Wayne giving you a gem on one of the CeeLo Goody Mob records.
Yeah, I forgot what.
It was the "Who's That Peeping Through My Window."
Yeah,
because you were interviewing Wayne and 2 Chainz during the pandemic for their record, and Wayne, like, I think you were going to get them on Verified.
Yeah,
but Wayne broke down Goody Mob Cell Therapy.
Yeah,
and he's Pow. Okay, so the song goes, "Who's that peeping through my window?" Pow. You think he's shooting somebody?
Right.
Like, oh, somebody's looking through my window. Wayne was like, no, it's a prisoner of war. Right. Because that whole song is about being in your own prison.
Trapped in,
Bro.
But it's amazing because we're all fans of something, right?
Right.
Like I almost love to see, I love watching Wayne, him and Missy, the moments that they have together, because he's such a fan.
Oh, yeah.
I tell Ross this all the time. Like, you ever talk to Rick Ross and he'd be like, man, it reminds me of Eric B. and Rakim. And then he just go off on, you could just see him going off to his younger yet. I love to see, like, we're not too cool to be fans of our own.
Yes.
And Tyler had said something recently where he was telling artists, yo, like, don't stop doing the sneaker shopping. Like, go talk about your music. First of all, I love sneaker shopping as a show.
Right.
Shout out to Joe LaPuma. I'm a big sneakerhead. And I feel Tyler though, but yes, go someplace to talk about your music. He's like, oh, you're eating the hot wings. You're going to we're doing everything except talking about the music. And again, you know how many times I pitched for Tyler to come to Genius to do something, and it didn't have to be verified. It didn't have to be this and it. Man, I pitched them all. Like, I've had, one of my, and thank God she did it. But like, I had to sit down with Mariah Carey.
Oh, yes.
Well, we just talked about this before she goes to the Songwriters Hall of Fame, where we just talk about her process as a songwriter. Like Mariah said, even on camera, this is one of the best interviews I ever done.
Right.
Because
you respect the pen game.
Nah, but because her pen game is ill. Like,
That's right.
Let's not forget about, like, it's more than Christmas.
19 number ones, 18 she wrote.
Yeah.
Put some respect on MC.
So for me, and look, we did that. That was a series that we had called Genius Level. So I did one with DJ Premier, which was great. I did one with The Dream. One of the big questions I had for Dream was, Dream writes amazing records for women.
Yep.
And it was like, as a man, how do you get yourself in that mood to write like a single ladies or just...
Right.
And so, he talked about, because I grew up and it was just my mother and my aunts. And so I'm listening to conversations I shouldn't hear. So I pick up on the things that are important to women in relationships. So it's just breaking down that pride. And I love those conversations. So we did one for DJ Premier. We did one for Dream. We did one with Nicki Minaj. We did one with T-Pain. We did one with Mariah Carey, right? And those are all amazing interviews. I pitched that series to, like,
everybody
who you can think, like Mary J. Blige,
right?
Jay-Z, I pitched that twice a year,
right?
Missy, Janet Jackson, like I want that. That was it was almost like This Is Your Life, but in lyric form or in creative form, and we went through different aspects, but where you were creatively when you came up with that, you wrote that, why you did that. Like, I wanted to give that to everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's so awesome.
But everybody ain't want it.
Right.
And, I get it.
I saw that Logic made a TikTok. Like, Logic, he put you on the album.
Yeah.
On the
Right.
cover.
Yeah.
Right. Did you know he was going to do that?
Yeah, because they had asked me, Sam Spratt, who did the painting, had asked if I could take a still photo, and he gave me the pose he wanted me to pose in. So then he'll take the still photo
So
and then
cool.
he'll paint it. So
And
I knew
then
that
so
was on the
Logic
way.
made a TikTok, was like, yo, Rob, I called Rob. I was trying to get on Genius so we could have the sit down talk, because he dropped his album in 2022,
Yeah.
his most recent album. And he was really trying to pitch you to
Right.
get on Genius.
Shout out to Bobby.
But
Yeah.
did that ever even happen? Because
No.
from what Logic said was that, yeah, you told him that, oh, you guys aren't doing those things anymore.
Genius got acquired in 2021, and like everything else, hard decisions had to be made. So we had a suite of shows. I had my own talk show. We had Deconstructed, which focused on producers. We had Verified, where they yellow background. We have Open Mic, where people sing. We had a suite of shows. And after the company got acquired, the decision was made that costs had to be cut, and so the production budget was cut. And we had an internal video team that was let go. So, and my show was cut. The show that I had. So he called me right after that. It was just like, bro, there's no production budget. There's nothing like there's I tried to explain to him that there's just nothing we could do. So people know me as the face of Genius and doing the interviews, and that was maybe about 10 to 15, maybe 20% of what I did there. Like, I'm working, I'm managing a team behind the scenes. Like, I'm doing so much. Like, I really work a 9 to 5, 10 to 6, whatever. Actually,
Right.
it never stops. So that ended me being a face of Genius or a personality for Genius, but that didn't kind of end my work. So, and I don't think Logic quite understood what I was saying. So he was like, well, I'm going to make this TikTok, and the people who made the decision they're going to see it, and then they're going to know this is important to do it. And I was just like, bro, it's business. And again, it's bigger than Nino Brown, baby. So we just never got to do it. But Logic and I did a ton of interviews.
Yeah.
In the past, we just didn't get to do it for that one. And but that also birthed, like, all right, I got to build my own platform as
That's
well.
right.
For myself, you know what I'm saying? So I can have the conversations I'd like to have.
And it's important that you have that, because I know you mentioned too that MTV, Nessa hosted the VMAs. Sweetie was hosting with her. Like,
Oh,
you
Rob, come on.
you weren't sending. You were very clear.
Right.
You had love for Sweetie.
Yeah.
But MTV and all these other platforms need to make sure, like, hosting a red carpet, hosting a pre-show, hosting a show. It's a lot that goes into it. Like, I don't know how Nessa be having the in-ears in her ear and having a conversation. So you spoke out about that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people
You love
realize.
Because I felt like maybe you're being a little
No,
hard.
I wasn't trying to be mean.
I'm so soft, aren't I?
It's okay. No, I think Sweetie is dope. Like, in what she does, because she kind of represents. She's the James Blake thing that he is saying. Like, yo, use the music to parlay
Other
opportunities. And it's unfortunate that artists have to do that, but that is the reality that we're in. And I think she's used the music as a platform to parlay a bunch of opportunities for herself. I can't hate on that. And Sweetie don't bother nobody.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The only thing that I was saying, that there are people who dream their whole lives of doing this, to getting this opportunity.
That would be me.
And,
Dream, yeah.
And it just looked like, and sometimes, so it's like when you book artists, like sometimes you do things and it's a vanity thing. Let's get somebody, let's say a Sweetie, because she's a name, she has a bunch of followers, it'll increase tuning, and I get that.
For sure.
And that's important. Again, it's the reality where we have to live. We have to get eyes on the things that we do. But in crafting that deal, did you craft enough time of prep work, of pre-production, right? Like, that's part of the work. It's not just showing up when the camera is on. Is there enough pre-production where reading a teleprompter is hard? Like, if you're not used to it, working with it in the air is hard. Is there enough time built in? So did the production at MTV, the producers, build in enough time for that? And did Sweetie make enough time for that to happen? Was that even a discussion? But just to see it play out, like, and it's because the VMAs is like the biggest stage. Like,
Right.
we love it. To see it play out like that is disheartening. It was just like I don't know who it was, somebody didn't do their job. You know what I'm saying? It felt like, and it was just tough to watch when, hey, there's somebody dying for that opportunity, and who would have killed it. So that was all the thing. But it wasn't like against Sweetie. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And for context, Sweetie did show up to rehearsals. She showed up. She was there early. I think it's also different. Like, you can perform during rehearsals because she was great. I think also when you're not experiencing this world, it's different when it's live. It's different when there's thousands of people packed in one room, right? Rehearsals is just us.
Yeah.
We could hear each other clear. We're going back and forth. We're having a good time. But then when you can't really hear what's going on and you're not like, it's a lot of commotion.
They're not ready. You need 20 more seconds.
You need
Talk
20
for
more seconds. You got to know. Right.
Hey, what does this mean? You gotta know what this means.
Yeah, you got to know there's everything. So I felt a little bit, but I knew what you were trying to say in the sense of like, hey, like someone else might have really wanted it, but I know she did. And she really showed up to rehearsal. She did a great job. Listen, I've been in the game long enough to see others who have not showed up to rehearsals. Well, trust me. I've seen it.
I commend her on that. And these were just like questions that I had. And again, because I'm passionate about it. So, I could admit when I'm wrong or say I'm sorry. Still, the end result was what the end result was.
Right, yeah.
But hearing that, she showed up for rehearsals, that she really took it seriously, and that the production team took it seriously.
Oh yeah,
that's dope. So I'm sorry for that.
You really love the art of what you do.
That's
what you guys do,
this.
of what this industry is. So you want everyone to show up and make sure they're doing their job when it comes to a platform that you're given,
that you care about.
You want to be on these platforms. You wanted to be in the radio. You wanted, to do these things.
And not just for me, for the generation coming up after me who may not, right? Because these opportunities are dwindling. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's getting harder and harder. So for them as well. Like, but live is hard. I remember the first time.
Oh yeah,
I was live on MTV. We had a show called Rat Fix.
Yes.
And Sway put me to host one day. He had to do something. He couldn't do it. And I was interviewing Big Boy and Macklemore was our two guests.
Right. And think about that time.
Yeah.
They're big stars.
Yeah. So I have to go. You have to give the open.
Right.
Like the open monologue before it comes. And I'm standing there. The light is hot as hell. They count me in. And I froze.
Were you
I didn't even shake. I was just like, holy shit, this is live. Yeah. And the producer, shout out to our day, man. He'll laugh because he'll remember this. He's like, yo, like we're live. And it took me a second and I f***ed it up. And it might have felt like 5 minutes. I was only maybe like
3
10 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 3, maybe 10. And then once I got it out my system and we rolled.
You're good.
We just rolled into it. But I remember that feeling. It was like a deer in the headlights. And shout out to Sway for giving me that opportunity. But I wish you would have been on the sideline, like maybe having that comfort with it. But he's like, you got this. Bing.
We love Sway.
Oh
we love
God,
Sway. He's
love
such
Sway
a good person. I don't feel like he gets the credit that he really deserves, but maybe it's because, I just want him to constantly get it. I love Sway, what he's done. Like, he's just opened the doors for so many people, and he's just incredible.
Yeah.
And I know like you love him as well. And Rob, we can't get enough of you. Where can people constantly find you and get more Rob? Because I'm on you this year about this. We need more of you.
Yeah. I'm working on it. I'm just building the bricks, and because I just want it to be right. I don't want to compromise anymore. I've lent my name, my brand, my expertise to other brands, be it MTV at the time I was there, be it Genius, be it XXL at the time I was there, be it Amazon at the time I was contracted with them, and I've lifted folks up, and I want to lift me up.
And we want to lift you up too.
Thank you. That's why I appreciate this. Thank you so much. But right now, just follow me on social media. I'm doing, I don't have a podcast at the moment. It's coming, or maybe it won't be a podcast. It might be something new.
Right.
Like it might just be like we're working it out. I'm literally building it in real time. But every day on my social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, you will see a 90-second video of me. If it has to be more than 90, we'll make it more than 90 of me going in on certain topics, giving my perspective, but giving like an educated, well thought out take, just being the balance, being the thing that I want to see. So you can catch me on social media at Rob Markman every day.
We love you. We appreciate you. I have been loving these videos that you have been posting.
Thank you.
Katrina's like, I think, is it a studio that you're in, or where is it? Because it looks...
It's my crib.
It's very well lit. Very great.
It's my
aesthetic. Great aesthetic.
It's my office. This is me. I thank you. First of all, that makes me feel good.
Oh, it's perfect.
At the end of the year, I bought myself a bunch of lights.
That's good.
I don't know how to light. It's just like being on sets, what I've kind of just picked up, a couple of YouTube tutorials, and I'm just working the best I can. I bought Premiere Pro. I'm editing it myself. I'm coloring it myself. So you may see it change or hopefully gradually it gets better, but I'm glad it's at a place that you guys
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Please watch it. It's so good. Share it, like it. Rob's not going to ask you to do that.
No.
I'm asking you to do that because it's great content. It's entertaining. Absolutely. And it's so well thought out. It is a must. And I'm so happy for this next chapter in your life.
Thank you.
Of
Thank
course.
you so much. I can't thank y'all enough. Thank
We
you.
love you. Come
Love
back
you too.
again.
Whenever y'all want. This couch is comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't ever leave.
Move in.
Yeah. You'll never catch me with my leg up. I'm feeling like real.
Oh, yeah.
Real comfy.
Yeah, I feel real comfy.